Welcome to the Entrepreneur Show. This is your host, Michael Mara. I'm the CEO and founder of Entre, a social network for entrepreneurs, investors, and freelancers. On this show, we interview the top CEOs, venture capitalists, angel investors, and founders. Connect with me and thousands of other like-minded people by signing up for free at joinentre.com or download our mobile app on iOS and Android. On this episode, I'm interviewing Arabian Prince. He's a founding member of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame group N.W.A. He's a recording artist, music producer, composer. He's the CEO and founder of Inov8next Open Labs. He's the founder and CEO of GOAT. He's the co-founder of Covatech. And he's doing amazing things with other businesses all over the place. We talk about what it was like being part of hip-hop culture, what it was like working with Dr. Dre and Ice Cube, and what it was like getting into technology after being in the music industry. There's a ton of interesting things that we discuss, from live streaming to all sorts of things with social media. I'm super excited for you to listen to this episode. Arabian, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm super excited to get into this. You've had a wealth of knowledge and experience in music, but now you're getting so into tech, and there's a lot of things that I want to talk to you about here, but I think it'd be cool for people who aren't super familiar with yourself. You were part of N.W.A, which in my opinion is, arguably the most influential music group of the last 100 years, especially with rap and hip hop culture. So I'd love for you to share with people what that was like, being a part of that group. What was it like working with Dr. Dre and Ice Cube and Eazy and some of these super influential musicians, and obviously what that was like, being a part of that, and also you being an artist and musician yourself and going off kind of on your own too.
Yeah, man, it was crazy times back in the day, but the dope thing about being part of NWA was like we were able to echo a message to the country of what was going on in the inner cities that nobody knew at the time, because there was no social media. So it was kind of like we were the early social media, like telling it like it was and telling what was going on. But honestly, you got to look a little bit earlier and see how everybody came together, because we were all doing different things on the West Coast. Dr. Dre and Yella were in the World Class Wrecking Crew. I was doing my own stuff, solo records under Arabian Prince. Eazy-E was the neighborhood pharmaceutical technician. He's doing his thing. Then you had MC Ren, who was one of Eazy's friends, and then Ice Cube lived down the street from Dre's aunt. So it was like we all came together and kind of formed this super group. And nobody knew how big it was going to get, because we were just having fun and making music at the time, and telling stories. But it eventually turned into Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and a bunch of other things. So yeah, I'm just blessed to be a part of it.
Yeah, it's pretty wild, thinking about how much of an impact that made, because, and we were talking about this before we hit record, but hip hop now in rap culture, it's so mainstream. I mean, it is like the music industry, really. And how much of that, like over the last, however long, really, like 30, 40 years, as this has developed, you know, did you see this happening? Did you think that that type of what you guys were building and starting, did you think that it would become what it is now? And did you see how much this would catch on, and how big and popular Dre and Ice Cube and some of these guys, like what they went on to do? Could you see their drive and ambition, and the ambition in yourself and the other people? Was there like the energy that was in this group of people and in yourself? Like, you guys were you on a mission at the beginning to change the whole music scene and really build, like, grow this together, or like you said, you were just having fun and it kind of just snowballed?
Yeah, I think we were just having fun. But one thing I often tell people, I teach a music business class. Well, before COVID, teach music business class and I often say that once you know a formula, that's the most important thing is figuring out the formula or a flow or something. And once we kind of got in that groove, you know, I had been a producer before that. Dre had been a producer before that. So we already had kind of like a formula. We had hit records before when we came together. It was just kind of like grooving in that same vibe. And once you get in and have that formula and have those hits, doors open for you, and you can kind of keep going and keep pushing. You know, the Ice Cube kept going and kept pushing. Dre kept going and kept pushing. I was more of this, guy who really wanted to be an innovator. I really didn't care about the fame side as much. You know, for me, it was behind the scenes. I did my thing, but I was always into technology and music and all of these different things. And for me, I just pushed in so many different directions, video games and special effects and animation. And, I'm just like all over the place, but that's what I do. But I really believe that the drive was there initially because we put in a lot of hard work. We had fun, but we put in the work. We were not out partying and drinking and all of that stuff early on. When we was in the studio, we was in there getting busy and getting it done,
Yeah.
and learning the tools too. So a
Mhm.
lot of times you get artists who go in and they just rap or they just do their part and they're out. But we were in there learning from the engineers and learning from the musicians how to do it. And it just made our craft even better.
Right. And I saw too, you used to spend a lot of your time and money that you made also, buying computers and like learning technology and all that stuff. So I'm curious, like what made you so interested in technology? Did you see the Microsofts and the Apples like starting to really, you mentioned innovation and stuff. Were you just fascinated by what the capabilities of computers were, and that's what led you down this technology direction as well?
Well, I'll tell you, I always kind of put this in like a minute and a half story. When I was young, I had crazy uncles and cousins in the hood in Compton, and they was the ones doing all the dirt. So most of them got sent away to the military because when you're bad, you go to the military, right? And they came back a little more composed. They were, reformed. They were engineers in the Navy and in the Air Force and things like that. And they would come back from overseas with like technology back in the late 70s, like late 70s, like ham radios. So I got to play with ham radios as a kid. And then my cousin came back with this suitcase one time, and it was an ART 2600 keyboard. It was that synthesizer that had all like the wires that you see like a mad scientist. So I'm like a little kid, like trying to figure out how to make sound come out this thing. And you had to know oscillators and VCAs and all of these things in order to get sound out. And I learned this and I got infatuated with that. And then, turntables and vinyl and all of these things were happening when I was growing up. And then something interesting happened. When I became a DJ, it pivoted because we were just playing music. And then you had to learn how to set up the speakers and the amps and all of that. So it was still electronics and technology. And then what happened was drum machines came out. Like, oh, got to learn the drum machine. And then we get in the studio and it's like, well, how do you get the drum machine on tape? Well, you got to learn SMPTE and MIDI and CV gate and all of these things to sync all of this stuff together with a sequencer. And it just kind of made it so that I had to learn computers in the early days in order to be that guy who knew about this stuff. And once I got in computers, it was like, oh, I can do animation in here. Oh, there are video games coming out. Oh, I love this. And I just taught myself how to code, taught myself how to do animation. And the next thing I know, I was doing visual effects on the Power Rangers and Silver Surfer and Casper and Addams Family as a hobby while I was doing music, and actually started making more money doing animation and video games. So then it was kind of like I could do both. So yeah.
That's awesome. And I think it's so interesting how it's one of those things where when you first learn something and then you uncover the capabilities of it and like, wow, I can do this and I can do like with this. And that's where like I see now, like with computers and the internet and all of this stuff that's happening. You were such a trendsetter for music, and then you actually caught the technology wave super early as well. And you saw all this stuff coming as well. And I want to get into now some of the stuff that you're working on. I mean, you have a ton of interesting things happening here with Inov8 Labs, which I think would be a cool starting point, and let people know what you're doing with that, because it seems like a fascinating way to bring people together, and kind of a mix of co-working and an innovation lab at the same time, and really bringing ideas together. So I'd love to have you share a little bit about that and what led you to starting that as well.
Yeah, so Inov8next Open Labs was this concept that I had. Like, I'm really about inner city, about giving back to the next generation of kids, especially coming out of the inner city, because I come from Compton. Knowing that I was touched by technology at an early age, it changed my mindset about a lot of things. So, and I understand too, if you do the same for the next generation, you're going to do that. So that's why I started Inov8next. And we were going to build this technology center, which we're still doing, but COVID hit and it slowed that down. But what I did was I not only was trying to be like mine, me, because I have this knowledge, I wanted to share it. So we went down to Milwaukee and started working with the inner cities in Milwaukee and New York. There's a solar project here, a company called Solar Impact, that gives scholarships to inner city kids. And they bought 5 huge warehouses in South Central, and we're building a technology center, esport arena, film, television, recording. We're building all of that right now as we speak. Oprah Winfrey kicked in some money. Dre and Jimmy, I heard, kicked in some money. So this is going to be an amazing space that we're building. So my vision is always about, like I said, just if I can spark the minds of some of these kids and show them how easy it is to do this stuff. Because it's a funny thing, like we were talking about this shirt, my company GOAT, that we'll talk about later. I'm like, yeah, I want to do some apparel. So I'm a research guy. So I go look, okay, apparel, how you do apparel, how much it costs. I'm like, dang, cost that much for a t-shirt? Like, I could probably do that myself. So I started doing research. Looking up, oh, what the
Yep.
hell is sublimation? Wait a minute, I can print out something on a piece of paper and heat transfer it on a shirt. Oh, that's dope. Oh, I
Yeah.
can do screen print. So I started doing it myself. And I started, like 3D printing, vinyl cutting. I've been doing all of that myself, and I'm an old ass rapper.
Wow.
So if
Yeah.
I can do that and build
Right.
companies, these are things that young kids can get into early and turn into business and make
100%.
money. Because I found out that I can put together a quality high-end t-shirt for like $3-4. And people, as
Right.
you know, it costs like 20-30 bucks for some of these t-shirts now. I'm like,
Right.
the margins on that is crazy. So
Yeah.
my thing is just learning things and passing it on. And that's the kind of stuff we're putting in open labs. Is that's why it's open. It's not STEM, it's not STEAM, it's whatever the hell you want to do, whatever the hell you want to be. Fashion, tech, food, water, no matter what it is, it's
Yeah.
all tech. It's all built on the foundations of technology. So whatever your passion is, you can
Yeah.
turn it into an equitable technological future for yourself.
100%. And I think that's, I mean, that hits home with like everything that we're doing at Entre, and just helping to streamline entrepreneurship, because, and this is something a lot of people don't really understand, is that the word entrepreneur means so many things now. And I look at musicians as entrepreneurs, artists as entrepreneurs, and so all of these creators, influencers, content creators, anyone who's really creating anything and solving a problem or doing anything on their own, whether that's them just being a solopreneur, an online business owner, or startup, like that's an entrepreneur in the sense, right? And if we can enable and help like create more of that in the world, I think it's just going to be a better place. And I know like you I'm curious if you think that musicians are entrepreneurs, and how you think about entrepreneurship as it relates to the music industry? Because with what you're doing with the technology, and your computer company, and your COVID company, and Inov8 Next, like, these are very like traditional kind of entrepreneurial ventures in the clothing brands and fashion. Do you think, like, how do you look at musicians in that sense? And do you see that some musicians, if they approach it kind of as a business and as an entrepreneur, they do better, or like they understand marketing and those things? How do you look at that from the music industry?
So I'm glad you said the word business, because that's the first thing I say to my music students is, you were in the music business. But
Yep.
it seems that most people forget that word. They go, I'm
Right.
in music. What do you do?
Right.
I do music. And they do music. They put their music up on SoundCloud or all these places for free, and
Yep.
copyrights. None of their publishing or writers is protected. They don't understand the business, and they don't understand how they're going to get paid. So
Right.
what I do is I flip it. I'm like, you're in the music business. You take care of your business first,
Right.
and then you can make money in music. And if you approach it as an entrepreneur, like, give you a good example. When we did N.W.A, we were entrepreneurs because we went, pressed records ourselves. We went to a record distribution company, got
Yep.
records pressed, and got the boxes, whether it was vinyl or back then it was cassettes, and we would transport those in our cars to record stores and sell them and get money. So
Yeah.
basically, we were just doing the basic
Right.
entrepreneurship back then. And the kids who get it now are doing it now, whether it's streaming or, there's kids on Twitch right now. I'm watching Twitch every night, and they're on there making thousands of dollars a night. And
Yeah.
people don't get it. And I'm like, if you're not on Twitch, if you're not on the platforms that allow you to monetize.
Yep.
And I mean, yeah, you can monetize on YouTube. Yeah, you can monetize on Instagram a little bit. And, you know, people are making a bunch of money on TikTok and things like that. But you got to get on. It's the new world. Like you said,
100%.
the younger generation has a different approach to making money that has nothing to do
Facts.
with traditional being a doctor, a lawyer, or all these things. Yeah, they're
Yes.
needed, but they figured out another way. And you got to
Yes.
embrace those as businesses and as professional businesses, just as everything else, because they're making just as much money or more faster without doing as much work. So,
Exactly. And I'm so glad you brought this up too, because it's such an important point that people still don't understand. And I want to, and that's why I brought up, do you look at, musicians as entrepreneurs? And the ones who understand that, I think, do much better. If they understand that they need to build a brand and do marketing and get out there and build a following and stuff, and they don't necessarily, I've had a couple conversations with people on Clubhouse, have been in the record label space, and and invested in some musicians and stuff too, that the idea of a record label is becoming less and less important, because people are able to do distribution on their own. If they have a huge following on Twitch and Instagram and TikTok and some of these platforms now, YouTube and Spotify, they don't really necessarily need a record label. I'm curious what your thoughts are on this, and in the rise of independent artists. I know this is it's kind of been a hot topic in the music industry for forever, kind of. But what are your thoughts around that? Do you think that musicians now should really just focus on kind of paving their own way and just building their own following, making money from streaming and Twitch, and making money on Spotify and YouTube, and just growing their own following without having to necessarily rely on a record label?
I think there's a path to both, because if you look, there's still big artists out there making
Oh
millions
yeah.
of dollars through a record label.
Oh yeah.
So I think it depends on who you are. Like, don't be discouraged if you never get a major record deal, because there's people out there who don't have them that make millions or hundreds of thousands or a very comfortable living. Do the math. If you independent and you have an album that you want to sell for roughly $10 a piece digitally or something like that, and you sell 100,000 albums, that's $1 million to you directly, you know, pretty much.
Yeah.
If you're on a major and you sell 100,000 records, they're definitely going to drop you. So I look at it like, you can have a comfortable living selling 10,000 records a year,
Yeah.
5,000 records a quarter. There's people out there making a consistent living with a fan base. If you've got 10, 20, 30, 40, 50,000 people who follow you, you can make a living off of that, just by growing your fan base that way. So yeah, but I think there is a way both ways, because the big machines from these record companies can push you a lot more, but they got to believe in you. They got to get behind you, and you're not going to make as much money per unit. You may make a lot more money touring. Well, now you can't tour, but so now is a different world. So yeah,
Exactly.
there's a way both ways.
Yeah, I'm curious your thoughts too on, I mean, you brought up streaming, we've talked about it. What made you want to, it might be a good time now to talk about GOAT, like what made you want to start that, and what made, like, when did it click for you that, oh, streaming is the future? Like this is going to be huge for not only gamers
Right.
but musicians too.
Well, I've been doing it forever, and I have a lot of partners in the gaming space: HyperX, EVGA, Microsoft. So, they've been my friends for years, and I've seen it coming. And I've been telling everybody, like, you need to get your online game on. Like, I don't really have a big social following because I'm, kind of private. I just do my thing, but I know that when I have to launch something, that's where you got to go straight to social media. You know what I'm saying? So now that we're launching our new brand, GOAT, how this came about was even before COVID, a lot of DJs were trying to start DJing online and streaming and stuff. And it wasn't looking good because they're using Macs. A lot of DJs use Macs to DJ with. I've always been a PC cat. So and I knew once they started trying to scale and use these MacBooks to stream, it wasn't going to go well because you really need a dedicated graphics card or a gaming computer to stream properly. So when COVID hit and I saw all the DJs hit it and it wasn't going well, I started calling some of my buddies like, man, I would love to help you guys kind of do better. I've got some partners. Let me call my people over at EVGA and some of my other people and see if we can help build you a system to help you stream better. And, I think one of the first systems we did was my buddy Z Trip. Hooked him up, hooked up some of the beat junkies. I think Jazzy Jeff is using the system. Little John um, just went off to the Roots. We got a lot of DJs out there using the equipment now and streaming better. So my whole thing is not only to just give them a system that they can stream with, but something that they can continually make money with. So my thing is, yeah, you can game on it, but this is built to make money. This is built for business. This is built to go out and make you look good, and you ain't got to worry about the quality of the parts because we're using all high-end components. We're not skimping on the parts because we know you're using this to make money. This is another tool in your arsenal to go out and stream and make money, and we're going to support you. So another thing we're doing when we launch GOAT, the website, is we have this thing, GOAT Nation. So GOAT Nation is going to be our community, and the community is going to be there for the streamers and the DJs and the musicians who don't understand it. And you can go in kind of like Fiverr. I had envisioned this thing kind of like we build an ecosystem where people can go on and look for questions or look for people to help them do what they need to do. Like, yeah, I'm a DJ. Okay, I got my system. I'm using OBS. I really don't know what the hell OBS is. You can go hire somebody to help do your OBS. You can hire somebody to do your emotes, to do your transitions and your graphics for you, all of that. Oh, merch. We got people that can design merchandise for you. So I want to build this ecosystem so people can make money and, excel in this new space.
Yeah. And it's going to be, I mean, it looks like right now it's still going to be a while until there's large in-person gatherings. I think we'll
Yeah,
get
I would
back
say
to
another year or two, man. Like it's gonna be crazy.
it's so weird right now.
Yeah.
You know, that's why for us, like we were doing a ton of in-person events. We were doing 7 to 10 events a month across, you know, several different cities for entrepreneurs and startups. Now all that's virtual. I mean, we are already building an app in technology, but like, you know, we really valued the human to human connection too in the in-person, because I already saw things getting virtual and I was like, we need to like help people actually connect in real life. Like this is, you know, we're getting down a dangerous path. And now with COVID, it's like we're deep into this now. And I think it's going to be, you know, we're in the midst of like a whole new, you know, way of doing a lot of businesses, a lot of different ways. I think how who do you see is doing virtual concerts the best right now, and how are they doing it? Do you think VR is gonna and AR is gonna play a role in this too? Because I've seen some, I think Travis Scott did a partnership with Fortnite for like a virtual concert. Do you see that? You know, like I'm curious where you see this industry going, because you're so forward thinking. Like what do you see as like the next evolution for virtual streaming, virtual music, virtual concerts, and all of that?
I see a lot of above. You know, I see like the Fortnite thing was amazing. And I don't know if you know, there's people doing stuff in Animal Crossing. Like they're literally having concerts and, events in Animal Crossing. All of these different games now, people are going in and building these interactive
That's
experiences.
wild.
And I think that's coming because that's why I'm trying to get this information out there. Knowledge is key for the next generation, and even this generation needs to hop on the train because these young kids already know what they're doing. You see these little 14-year-old kids building like worlds in Minecraft, and
Yeah.
they're having concerts in Minecraft now. So everybody needs to get on board with that because I think that's the future. You know, you got Oculus, you got Magic Leap, you got HoloLens, you got all of the, you know, VR and XR and augmented reality stuff coming. It's going to be the future, especially for the simple fact that we can't go outside as much as we want to anymore. So, um, yeah, this is the future right now, and it's so funny. You're a lot younger than me, but there were shows way back in the day. I used to watch this crazy alien TV show called V. And it was like where the aliens kind of infiltrate and everybody has to stay at home and all of these things. It's like it's happening, man. It's like
It's
we're in
crazy.
this space that's going to push new technologies to the forefront. So I'm trying to be right there on that train, man. Let's
Yeah.
go.
For sure. You're the conductor, right?
Yeah.
No, I love it, and it might be a good time to segue into COVID tech, right?
Yeah.
So tell us about what you're doing with this, because it's so like you're seriously at the forefront of so many like, you know, pivotal things right now. It's pretty amazing. Tell us more about what you're doing in that space.
Yeah, so Covatech was a company founded by me and three other amazing brains in different spaces: biotech, technology company that builds apps, and pharmaceuticals. So we all came together and said, "Hey, let's build something amazing to help right now. Like this is a problem." And so we built an app that we give away for free to small businesses so they can manage their employees because no one has an ecosystem for this kind of stuff to find out who's sick or what you have symptoms or what's going on. It's like a daily check because you can catch it before it happens, and so we started that, and then we started dealing in the PPE stuff and bio solutions for cleansing and things like that. So we just wanted to build something that would help, man, because every company has to do their part so we can get back to a normal life. So that's how I got involved in that. And a lot of people say, like, man, why are you got all these different companies, all these things you're doing? I call myself, I'm like that guy from And You're Young. In Living Color, you used to have these Jamaicans and they had like 15 jobs. And the guy with the 15 jobs was embarrassed because his uncle had 20. And the dude with the 15 jobs had to get unemployment because he didn't have enough jobs. So I'm just like, man, I'm out there trying to do it. And And that's another thing I tell people is some people say don't put all your eggs in one basket, like focus on one thing. But if you take your life focusing on one thing and it fails, you've wasted your life. So my thing is everything I do is intellectual properties. I'm not digging dirt, digging ditches. I can if that's what if that was gonna make me some money, I'd be out there doing that too. But my point is with intellectual properties, you come up with an idea or concept, you find people or a company that can execute what your idea is, bring them in, build it, turn it into a machine, and let it go. You don't have to manage it. You hire people to manage it, you hire people to run it, and you move on to the next thing. Look at the Elon Musk, look at the Bill Gates, and look at the the Steve Jobs, how
Yeah.
these companies that were singular companies have expanded to multi-unilateral companies. And that's the same thing I'm doing on the smaller scale.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, there's a lot. It it depends too on the type of person that you are. A lot of people can't handle doing several things either,
Right.
right?
There you go.
And they just need to focus on something. And it depends at the scale at which you're doing it, and if it can be automated, right? But I think how I looked at it when when I saw everything happening, this was a little over 5 years ago. I was like, all the wealthiest people in the world, they are in tech now. And if you're not in tech now and you want to make a lot of money and be at the forefront, you have to get into tech. And because if you don't get into tech, especially now, you're going to be out of the loop for like the next however long. Like you like now it's like really happening at mass scale. And it's going to be really hard to grow any business over in the future without some form of technology. So it's so interesting that you saw this so many years ago. And you have another business too, which we haven't talked about yet, which is the brownie business too,
Oh
which is
yeah.
a more conventional business as
Yeah.
well. So fill us in. What's going on with that, and how did that come about when you're so interested in music and technology, and then all of a sudden now there's this brownie business too that comes to life.
Yeah, so I started this thing called Game Time Brownies with some partners. And how this happened was I was on a Zoom. I was doing a bunch of Zoom. And maybe it wasn't a Zoom. Maybe this was something that I met him at a tech event that I was at. I think it was at a pitch event I was at for something else. And a friend of mine, Heath, we were talking, and he's like, my wife makes these amazing brownies. She's got this thing called Birth Amazed Brownies, which is, I guess, is pretty well known out there. And I'm like, cool, let me check it out. So he gave me some. I'm like, I love brownies. These are good. And I said, hey, and this is where that entrepreneurial thing kicks in, where I'm like, have you guys ever tried making like protein brownies or low sugar brownies? Because my whole thing is I'm a gamer too, so I'm thinking like for gamers are eating all these crazy high sugar snacks and crap. I wanted to create a line of food. I'm still working on some other stuff I can't talk about because if I say it, people will jump on it yet. But I want to create snacks and things for gamers so they can get their nutrients and play and do whatever, but it's not like stuff that tastes like medicine. You know what I mean? Like something
Yeah.
really good. So we did a bunch of tests, and his wife came up one day and was like, here, try this. Nah, try that. Nah, try. Oh, there we go. So now we've got protein brownies
Nice.
that will give you your nutrients, give you some protein, and let you game. And it's amazing. So we're launching Game Time Brownies like literally as we speak. And we're going to scale that out. And then we're looking at the cannabis space too, some other kind of brownies. And I'm working with a couple of companies in the CBD and cannabis space on that as well. So it's just scaling, man.
Interesting.
Like I said, never. I got another, one thing I really believe in. You don't have to reinvent anything. If you look at the
Facts.
billion-dollar companies in the world right now, if you look at Facebook, Google, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, YouTube, you look at all of these billion-dollar companies, right? If you really think about it, they don't do anything different from each other. They're all using video text and photos to
And they weren't the
interact with
first
people.
ones to even start the first platform that, it was. They basically did this, they copied someone else and then just
Yeah,
made it a little bit better.
right. So my point is just iterations. Find a niche,
Totally.
something that's already successful, and just kind of get in, like go, I'm in there. Give me like, okay, they're making what, $50 billion a year. Okay, give me 1% of that, right? Now I got 2%. Oh, now I got 5%. I'm learning that now I'm 10% of $50 billion. See what I'm saying? That's how these companies do. And then what you may get a breakthrough. If you don't get a breakthrough, you'll never be upset with that 10% of something else. So that's
Yeah.
just my vision and things.
No, I think that's really important for people to understand. And it's so funny that you brought up the word iterate,
Yeah.
because so my background is civil engineering, and I went through like every math class you could possibly go through, basically. Um, and what I realized in a lot of high level math classes are in calculus is just iterations. You have the
Yes.
problem, then you just iterate, and then you get to the solution. And I had this realization like a year ago. I was like, that's literally what entrepreneurship is. All you do is you have the equation, right, and you're trying to get the solution, like you're trying to make it balance and equal, and you have to just keep iterating the different variables and the different numbers and what's going on in your business to eventually get to where the solution is. And it's
Yeah.
pretty wild, man. um
Yeah.
and I think that's something that a lot of this is just experimenting, but you have to be aware too. And I think you come off as extremely aware and present and current with what's happening in the world. I don't know if that was something that you strive to do, but I don't know, and I'm curious if you want to talk about that
Yeah.
for a second, because I think it's really important for people to kind of have their ear to the floor, and like really listening and seeing what's happening in the world and with young culture, because that's what eventually takes over.
Yeah. Yeah. So, one thing that I pride myself on doing is every day I do research. I'm looking at things every morning, like what's trendy, what's hot, what's going on, what are people doing? And I look across a bunch of different platforms, from, the political platforms to the social platforms to the tech platforms to what's happening in film and television, animation, gaming, because it all affects each other. If somebody does something stupid over here, it affects everything else. Like,
Yep.
perfect example, the tariffs that Donald Trump put in place totally messed up the whole ecosystem in the tech space,
Yep.
because China built everything for
Sure.
computers. And now, come to Christmas, people can't get their Xboxes and their PS5s, and you can't get computer parts because of the tariffs messed up a lot of the silicon and the
Mhm.
wafers. And it's technical stuff that most people don't understand and get, but they just get mad because I can't get my Xbox. I can't get my
Right. Right.
PS5. Like, people are
Right.
freaking out, and
Yeah.
it's all because of something that happened politically. So
Yeah.
I keep my eye and my ear to these things, and you can literally start businesses on moves that are made
Oh yeah.
that you see. So I make sure every day I'm looking at what the hell's going on before I spend money on something, or before I start a business or do certain types of things.
Totally. I do the same thing, and it's so funny because I mean, I'm on building a social platform. I'm constantly on social, and I'm on everything. But I'm using when I'm on there, I'm the majority of the time. I'm not saying that I don't just like scroll and use it for some entertainment or whatnot, but the majority of the time I'm using it as a research. I'm saying who's running ads, how are they running ads, how are people creating content, who's doing well, what content is trending right now, what are the newest features that this platform rolled out, how are they, changing up their functionality within their app, what features are they rolling out, and who's getting into e-commerce and, like Instagram just rolled out so much stuff. Like they
Yeah.
rolled out Reels, YouTube's rolling out Shorts. There's so many different things that are happening so fast right now. And now you have Clubhouse that's like growing like crazy, and this whole audio transition that's happening, and who's doing that, and all these other platforms that are rolling out with similar stuff. Are there any websites that you go to for this stuff? Like, do you use Google Trends? Do you use anything to keep up to date with some of it that helps kind of curate it for you?
Man, I use them all. Like Google Trends, I do check out from time to time. I'm like everything, man. I'm just the news, Google, Yahoo, um, Instagram, Snapchat, YouTube. I hit YouTube a lot because I follow a lot of people in different spaces
Hmm.
because, they're hustling to make money. So they're
Yep.
all rushing to give you that information first.
Right.
So I follow maybe five or six people in the gaming space, five or six people in the computer space, and then, like the unboxing people, like what's the hottest new product? Because sometimes you'll see something like, oh, there's a new product, like, oh crap. And I don't know if you knew, I had this product that I developed with a partner company called M Classic, which was a dongle that can upscale video to 4K in real time. And
Mm.
how that came about very simply was I was at the E3 gaming convention, and a friend of mine introduced me to the guy who built the technology. And he had it in a cable that really wasn't selling as well as he wanted to. And I'm a designer too. So I was like, man, this thing works. I tried it out. I'm like, oh my God, it works. Let me scale it for you. Let me fix it. So I built it into a dongle that looked really cool and hip. And
Mm.
now we're selling a bunch of copies. It's on Amazon with almost 5 stars. So, that all came from me just looking online and looking to see what was out there in the space. And there was nothing like it.
Right.
So, just find that little niche and
Right.
get in there.
It's so important. Before we wrap up here, what what are you most interested in? Like, with all the stuff that you have going on, do you have any? I guess I think you're of you as such as like a futurist and like innovator. Do you know what I mean? And it's funny because I'm always doing the same thing. What industries or what things are you most excited about over the next, whether it's something that you're doing or what you've seen going on in these industries that we talked about, whether it's esports, gaming, whether it's music and technology. What are you like really interested in, or do you have any kind of predictions and stuff that are going to be happening over the coming years, that people might be able to jump on early, if they're listening?
Yeah, so I'm bullish on Waz X. Do you know Waz X?
Waz X? I
Look
don't
that up,
think so.
dude. Your boy Waz, Steve was the. I always say his
Oh
last
yeah,
name
yeah,
wrong.
yeah. Okay, yeah,
He started
Wozniak.
his
Yeah.
own cryptocurrency, and
Ah,
it's blowing up right now. Like it's going crazy, and I've been trying to get it, but it's not on the U.S. Crypto exchange
interesting.
yet. But
So
it's
okay, so we might have to quickly talk about crypto here
yeah.
if we're bringing this up.
Oh yeah, I'm in. I'm
Steve
I'm already
Wozniak
in
made his own
crypto.
crypto. See, I did not see this. This
Yeah,
is
and it's like
fascinating.
just the first day it did 1,400%.
Wow.
I wish I didn't like, but I couldn't get it when it launched. I knew it was launching. I couldn't get it. And if I'd have got it, think about this. You drop, okay, Google, stop. If you had got in with a G and 1,400%, you know what I mean? And this is, we're talking Woz, we're talking like the co-founder of Apple. He's not going to do nothing wrong. People are going to buy this just because.
Right.
So yeah, I'm bullish on that, bullish on crypto for sure. I think the hottest thing is going to be virtual learning.
Mm,
Virtual learning, because of what's going on right now, is the hottest thing to invest in right now. There's so many companies
mm.
popping up, getting into that space. We're actually getting into that space as well. So yeah, those are the really things I'm really hot on right now. Is just cryptocurrency and virtual learning are the two hot things. But gaming is always hot, so I don't even need to
Yeah.
say that. But yeah.
That's very interesting. We might have to have a follow-up convo on crypto,
No, we can go on for
because
2 hours on that
that's
one.
a whole conversation in and of itself.
Yes.
But no, I really enjoyed this, and thank you so much for taking the time. Where can people learn more about everything you're doing? What's the best way to connect or follow you to see all the businesses that you're doing, and
Yeah.
where can people check out some of the stuff that you're working on?
Yeah, they can follow me at OG Arabian Prince, even though I don't really post a lot. I'm a reposter. I'm like a dedicated reposter. Like somebody else posts something. Oh, cool. Thank you. I'll repost that. But I'm gonna be posting a lot more so people can see what I got going on. So OG Arabian Prince on social media. The computer company's called GOAT. We're launching a website. The
And that's
website's
Go
up.
with 3 Gs.
GOAT with 3 Gs.
Yep.
Greatest gadget gear of all time, greatest gaming gear of all time,
I was
greatest
wondering what
gig.
that's. Okay.
Yeah, greatest
Okay.
gig gear of all time. It's got a whole bunch of meanings, but it's the greatest of all time. So go get your greatest gear. But got that going, and then Inov8next is the website. INOV the number 8 and next.com. You can find me and doing a lot of stuff, and actually literally really trying to give back to the inner cities, man, and build us up. So
Yeah.
that's the most important thing out of all of this, is to educate and bring them into the future.
100%. And I think we'll definitely be able to collaborate on a lot of things with that. E-learning is a huge, and entrepreneurship education and just business education, financial education. It's a huge part of what we want to build over time. But we realize that the network in the community is first and foremost. And after that, we can really dive into some of these other industries that we want to get into. But man, this was incredible. Arabian, thank you so much. This was awesome. I'm excited for people to listen into this and check it out. And I'm excited to see what you get into over the coming years too. And we'll definitely have some future conversations about everything as well.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you. Thanks for having me.
You got it.